Peoples, they use the term two-spirited, which I think is fitting for everyone who considers themselves trans, because two-spirited is an apt term. It makes the most sense to me, but I know it's very specific to Native peoples, or correct me if I'm wrong. About being transgender, if you haven't read the Kybalion yet, whether you're a trans person or not, I suggest you do. It's a very insightful piece of text, and it's basically just the laws of nature. Whether you want to agree with the way it's written or not, whether you know or believe in Hermes or not, you can't argue against the laws of nature. These are things that should just come to you common sense, if you're a wise enough person. The Kybalion states that gender is in everything. Everything has a masculine and a feminine principle. It manifests itself on all planes. Now, this is not a direct quote. We're all transgender. We all have a masculine and a feminine trait within our spirit, within our soul, within us as people. And everything that exists in nature has a masculine trait and has a feminine trait. There's male and female animals, male and female plants. But we fail to realize that. We fail to acknowledge it. And therein lies the problem with transgenderism. That's what I'm going to call transgenderism, this idea of a male transitioning into a female, or a female transitioning into male. And I love watching the process, I'm not going to lie. To J.J. Smith, or whoever he is, honestly, I don't even know who that is, or I didn't until now. I still don't. I know he plays basketball or something. The idea that he called Caitlyn Jenner a science experiment, it's not so untrue. But then again, we're all science experiments. We're all eating GMO, genetically modified foods. In one way or another, it's in our food, in our water. The radio and wireless frequency, those waves are in the air. Pollution, contamination, pesticides, all of it. We are living and breathing science experiments. So let's not even lie to ourselves about it. Let's not get offended by what was said. What was said was very true. Let me get back to being transgender. Now, even trans people are in some ways confused about the terms. Now, we are all masculine, we are all feminine, we all carry these qualities within us, whether it's within our soul or whether it's within our mind. However, some of us do feel that we have more of a feminine quality about us than we do a masculine, and vice versa. Trans people feel that it's appropriate, or that the next step would be to transform themselves into whatever it is that they're feeling. And here's where I have a problem with this whole transgenderism, and I'm going to call it transgenderism because this is an idea, it's a doctrine, it's something that people have been taught, that because you're feeling that your feminine traits are more masculine than feminine, or because you're feeling that your masculine is more dominant than the feminine. What did I say? Anyway, people feel like, okay, now I have to make myself be that. And so you'll have men who want to become women by taking different hormones and pharmaceuticals and trying to become that sex. When you start to change things on the physical plane, now your physical body, not only are you feeling that you're transgender, but now you also want to become transsexual. You want to change your physical sex. And I've heard it said about a lot of children who feel this way, that their parents support them, and they should support their children who understand that they're feminine. For example, a male child who understands that his feminine is more dominant, his parents should support him. But the parents shouldn't go there and say, you know what, I'm going to change my son around and have him live as a girl and give him all kinds of hormone treatments and all this and that. We should acknowledge the feminine. If you're a masculine male who has more feminine traits, you should acknowledge that. If you're a feminine who has more masculine traits, then you should acknowledge that. I'm going to be confusing myself a lot here, going back and forth. So let me just use the masculine, the male to female, just as an example. So let's say you have a male child and he feels that his feminine is more dominant. Yes, the parent should support that. But the parent shouldn't then go encourage the child to wear dresses and to put on makeup and lipstick and take hormones and all that stuff, because then what you then starting to do is you're then starting to ignore the masculine traits. And you can't, there's no change in that. You're always going to have both genders within you, because that's the law of nature. But what this does, when you take synthetic hormones and you convince yourself that I am a woman, and let me say, it's fine to live as a woman, to live inside of a female body. But you'll have to understand and respect the fact that you're not going to be a woman. Whether or not you look like one, or dress like one, or feel like one, you're not going to ever be one. But you're going to be transsexual, and that's 100% okay. If I'm going to break it down and simplify it, I'll say this. We are all transgender, so says the law of nature. When we go and we start to change the physical aspects of ourselves, we become transsexual. So the term is transsexual. We shouldn't be calling these people transgender. We're all freaking transgender. And to call or to just isolate trans people and say those are transgender, that causes us to ignore the law of nature, and now we're ignoring the fact that we too are transgender. It's the more the people who call themselves straight, heterosexual, and the ones who are homophobic and transphobic, those are the people who are most confused in all of this, because those are the ones who are so far away from the law of nature that they're the ones who are causing all this distance between people, because you're not exactly one. You're not all masculine. It doesn't matter how big your muscles are, how tough you think you are, how big your fucking dick is. It makes no difference. You still have feminine qualities, and that's why a lot of men get extremely emotional. It's because they possess these feminine qualities about themselves, but they don't know how to express it, because society, their religion, their traditions, their culture, and all of that forces them not to recognize their feminine, not to acknowledge their feminine, and it forces them to repress their feminine. So if anyone has any issues right now with transgenderism, or with transsexuals, trans people, and the idea of being transgender according to the laws of nature, you're the ones who are confused. And Caitlyn Jenner is not confused, in that she recognizes that, you know, her feminine qualities are more dominant than her male qualities. But you have to remember that at one time she was a male Olympic champion, and her masculine traits were dominating at that time on the physical plane. So is it okay that she just ignored all that she wants to set that all aside and pretend that she was never a physically masculine human being? I don't know if it's okay to do that. I don't know if it's okay. Now you're going against the law of nature by ignoring your masculine side. So no matter whether you're a trans person or not, whether you choose to be a transsexual or not, if you then go and try to pretend that, you know what, I'm no longer a male, if you're a female to male transgender and you want to pretend that, you know, I'm no longer a female, you're lying to yourself, and you're going against the law of nature. We're supposed to live in balance. And I'm grateful that this whole thing came out, because there have been a lot of male to female transsexuals and female to male transsexuals, especially the story about the male to female